13 proposals were received by the July 25th deadline for the response of proposals, and whereas the proposals were reviewed by a committee consisting of Comptroller Hagan, Town Attorney McCarthy, and Information Specialist Andrews for responsiveness to the RFP, price, level of service, and support provided, experience, and familiarity with the town's existing systems. And whereas the committee recommended that the proposal from ABS Solutions be accepted as most responsive to the needs expressed in the request for proposals and based on price, service, and migration capabilities. Now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby accepts the recommendation of the evaluation committee, and be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to execute an attached engagement letter from ABS Solutions, Corporate Circle, Albany, New York, email hosting service to town employees in the amount of $16,200 annually, as well as $4,545 in one-time charges for the migration of all existing data into the new server and storage systems, and activation fees for the transfer from contingency with a total amount for 2018 of $9,945. And that line item is listed. A resolution adopting a local law of 2018, amending sections 11-4 and 5-6 of the Town Code, whereas provisions within chapters 5 and 11 of the Town Code provide that all members of the town's Emergency Services Advisory Board be residents of the town of Clifton Park. And whereas members of the board, as well as Fire Marshal Cheryl Reed, recommend that elimination of the residency requirement to enable member companies and districts with responsibilities within multiple municipalities to appoint senior members to the advisory board. And whereas on July 16, 2018, the town board held a public hearing to receive comment from members of the public on a proposal to eliminate the residency requirement for the Emergency Services Advisory Board. And whereas the town wishes to adopt amendments to the town code to ease the appointment of senior members of the districts and companies comprising the first responder community to the board. Now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby adopts local law 2018, a local law amending sections 11-4 and 5-6 of the town code as attached, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is directed to publish appropriate notice of the same. A resolution awarding a contract for weed control at the Clifton Knolls Ponds. Whereas the town stormwater technician issued a request for proposals for triploid grass carp from DEC approved suppliers for weed control of the 3 town-owned ponds in Clifton Knolls. And whereas Scott Reese, stormwater technician, has reviewed the proposals submitted for the purchase and stocking of 190 triploid grass carp and recommends that Northeastern Aquatics be awarded the contract. Now therefore be resolved that the contract to perform professional services relating to the purchase and stocking of weed-controlling triploid grass carp for the Clifton Knolls Ponds is hereby awarded to Northeastern Aquatics, Inc., Rhinebeck, New York, with funds not to exceed $2,425 for stocking and delivery, $1,925 to be paid from, that line is listed, and $500 to be paid from another line that is listed. A resolution to authorize professional service agreement for preparing an application for grant funding under the New York State Department of Transportation Alternatives and Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program. Whereas the town board wishes to seek funding for pedestrian enhancements to improve the town center's walkability under the federally funded Transportation Alternatives Program and the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program administered by New York State DOT. And whereas on July 16, 2018, the Planning Department distributed a request for expressions of interest from qualified engineering and consulting firms for assistance in identifying potential projects and analyzing data and to support an effective application under the program. And whereas pursuant to the request for expressions of interest, the initial work performed to support the town's application under the Transportation Alternative and Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program will be performed without cost to the town, and whereas Greenman Peterson Incorporated has submitted a qualifying expression of interest which demonstrates familiarity with the funding program and its qualifying criteria, as well as a track record for successful engineering, design, and construction support for pedestrian bicycle mobility projects under this and similar programs. Now therefore be resolved that the planning director is authorized to retain Greenman Peterson Inc. to assist the town in preparing an application for funding, the Clifton Country Road Pedestrian Enhancements Transportation Alternatives Project under the New York State DOT Transportation Alternatives Project and the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program. A resolution scheduling a public hearing to consider applications for the Conservation Easement Program. Whereas the town board wishes to schedule a public hearing pursuant to section 125.6 of the town code to hear public comment on applications by Edward Kowicki for the inclusion of 2 properties within the town's conservation easement term program. And whereas the applicant has requested term conservation easement status for the following properties: conservation easement for 67.46 acres behind 929 Rubens Road and 20.30 acres behind 937 Rubens Road. Now, therefore be resolved that the public hearing is scheduled for September 4th, 2018 in the Wood Memorial Meeting Room, 1 Town Hall Plaza, Clifton Park, New York, at 7:05 p.m. to consider the above properties for inclusion in the Conservation Easement Program, and be further resolved that each of the proposed property owners give the notice to their neighbors and other entities as provided in the town's conservation easement legislation in advance of the public hearing, and that the town clerk is directed to publish appropriate notice of the same. A resolution authorizing the retention of Focus Technologies to complete digital scanning services for the Planning Department historical records. Whereas the Planning Department acquired new records management software and scanning services with the assistance of grant funding through the Local Government Records Management Improvement Fund. And whereas, And whereas all grant project goals have been met with planning and zoning files dated between 1960 and 2008, electronically and digitally searchable. And whereas the Planning Department wishes to complete the electronic scanning and storage of certain outstanding historical files, utilizing Focus Technologies as a New York State preferred source vendor. And whereas Focus Technologies has proposed completing the work in partnership with New York State Industries for the Disabled at a contract price of $5,045. And whereas Planning Director John Scott recommends proceeding with the electronic scan and storage of the remaining planning board files. Now, therefore be resolved that the proposal and quote from Focus Technologies through the New York State Industries for the Disabled for digital scanning and storage services be accepted in an amount not to exceed $5,045 to be paid with a transfer of that amount from the contingency account. A resolution authorizing an engineering design contract with MJ Engineering for the Moe Road Gap Closure Trail Project. Whereas the town has received a Transportation Alternatives Program and Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Grant for the design and construction of the Moe Road Trail Southern Gap Closure Project for the design and construction of a multi-use path extending from Octay Elementary School on Crescent Road to the intersection of Sugarbush Road and Moe Road in the southern part of Clifton Park. And whereas the project will be federally funded, administered through New York State Department of Transportation, and contemplates an 80% federal commitment with a 20% local match, with the town paying all contractors' invoices in the first instance. And whereas the town wishes to engage MJ Engineering to prepare design drawings and as an engineer on the project, and whereas New York State DOT has recommended that the town's design engineer be compensated on a fee plus cost consulting basis to ensure eligibility for federal reimbursement for programs and guidelines. Now, therefore be resolved that the provider is authorized to execute the attached engineering consultant agreement with MJ Engineering for the design of the Moe Road Gap Closure Trail Project, and be it further resolved that the comptroller is authorized to create a capital project fund in the amount of $181,000 for engineering design services for the project. A resolution authorizing the assignment of ground lease and management agreement for the ice arena at the Clifton Common. Whereas by resolution number 71 of 2001, the town board authorized the execution of a ground lease with the Clifton Park Ice Arena, which provided for the construction of a second ice arena at the Common and for its occupancy and operation by the Clifton Park Ice Arena for a term of 30 years with an option to extend for an additional 10 years. And whereas Resolution number 71 of 2001 also authorized the execution of a management agreement with Arena Management Group, a related entity, for the management of the town's adjacent ice arena and the administration of the various hockey and ice skating programs at the existing facility. And whereas by its terms, the lease agreement commenced upon issuance of all municipal approvals, allowing for the construction and the occupancy of the new arena building, which occurred with the issuance of the certificate of occupancy on August 22nd, 2002. And whereas the ground lease provided for an additional rental payment of $450,000, a $500,000 payment at the 15-year point within the lease, and also provided for a $300,000 option payment in exchange for a 10-year extension of the initial term. And whereas revenues from agreements with AMG and CPIA, including $428,684 in operating profits from the management of the original arena, helped the town to retire over $1.4 million of outstanding bonded debt for the construction of the original arena that existed at the inception of the agreements. And whereas pursuant to the management agreement, AMG provides staff, maintenance, and supplies for the administration of programs for the Clifton Park Youth Hockey, Adult Hockey, the hosting of Shenandoah High School competitive hockey at a secure and stable facility that is properly equipped to provide a comfortable experience for players, fans, and families throughout the fall and winter months. And whereas the existing lease and management agreement with Arena Management and the Clifton Park Ice Arena have resulted in expanded opportunities for recreational and competitive hockey at all levels for youth and adults, including programs for figure skating and learn to skate lessons on a year-round basis, as well as seasonal availability for expanded ice time for public skating at the second rink that was constructed. And whereas a variety of activities has also expanded with the Prestige Arena managed by Arena Management, now hosting Shenmue Cross Club during spring and summer months, the town's full-day camp operating throughout the summer months. And whereas the availability of dual ice arena facilities has allowed for ice access for recreational as well as competitive skating on a 12-month basis, including skating days for full-day campers, public skating, figure skating, and skill development for competitive hockey players at all levels, while additional recreational programs occur in the spring and summer months. And whereas the ground lease and management agreement provide that the agreements may be assigned to successor entities only with town board approval. And whereas CPIA has submitted a proposed assignment agreement by which CPIA proposes to assign its rights under the ground lease to occupy the arena, which was constructed pursuant to that lease, to Arena Realty Group for the remaining term of years, as well as the option to extend. And whereas the agreement between AMG and ARG provide that ARG will make the outstanding rent payment of $500,000 to the town of Clifton Park, as well as any option payments. And whereas the proposed agreement shall also provides for the assignment of AMG's rights and responsibilities under the management agreement for the administration of programs and activities at the Prestige Services Arena to Clifton Park Family Sports Arena, LLC, at a monthly management fee of $5,000 for 7 years. And whereas ARG also proposes to lease space in the former concession area storage room at the Prestige Arena for the sum of an additional $1,066.66 to provide enhanced fitness training and skills training for competitive hockey programs. And whereas the town board is willing to consent to the assignment of the existing ground lease and management agreement under terms and conditions that will provide for the continued operation and growth of these and other programs. Now therefore be resolved that the town board consents to the assignment of the rights to the remaining term of years under the existing ground lease for the Clifton Park Ice Arena from CPIA to Arena Realty Group, and agrees to accept $500,000 in rent payment for the remaining term of years through August 21st, 2032 from ARG. And be it further resolved that the town board consents to the assignment of the May 21st, 2001 management agreement for the operation and management of the Prestige Ice Arena as amended to Clifton Park Family Sports Arena, LLC. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign the attached commercial lease agreement for 1,600 square feet of space in the former concession area at the Prestige Ice Arena at a rent of $1,066.66 per month. A resolution awarding the bid for feasibility study for remedial actions at the Riverview Landing wastewater treatment plant. Whereas on April 10, 2018, the town's collection department solicited proposals from consulting engineering firms for a feasibility study to evaluate and provide initial cost estimates for potential corrective actions to correct deficiencies in the operation of the plant. And whereas Prime Engineering has submitted a responsive proposal in the amount of $9,970, and whereas Collection Systems Manager Michael O'Brien recommends that the proposal from Prime Engineers be accepted, and whereas Prime Engineering, formerly J.M. McDonald Engineering, has demonstrated familiarity with the plans and operation of the wastewater treatment plant and has assisted the town in the operation and maintenance of the system and plant to date. Now therefore be resolved that the proposal of Prime's AE Great Oaks Boulevard, Albany, New York is accepted in the amount of $9,970, and be further resolved that the controller is authorized to transfer $9,970 from the assigned fund balance. Those lines are listed for the project. A resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a change order for well house roof replacement project on Bishop Ferry Road Electrical. Whereas Resolution number 2 of 2018 authorized a contract for the replacement of the roof at the well house on Bishop Ferry Road in the amount of $39,875 to Stephen Miller General Contractors. And whereas the project is complete and Prime Engineering recommends release of outstanding contract retainage funds and execution of a change order. And whereas the change order represents an overall reduction of $1,912 in the contract price, bringing the total project cost to $37,963. Now therefore be resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign change order number 1 dated June 1st, 2018 to Stephen Miller General Contractor. And be further resolved that the amount of $1,898.15 be released from encumbrances and paid per the contract.
All set, Pat? Okay, very good. Pat, if you could read the headings and we'll consider each resolution individually.
Resolution number 183 of 2018, a resolution correcting the employment step of lifeguards at the Clifton Kent Park Council.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. Discussion.
Councilman Whalen, Councilman Standard, Councilman Romano, Councilman Baldwin, Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Resolution number 184 of 2018, a resolution hiring water safety and youth safety instructors for individual swim lessons at town pools effective June 30th, 2018.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Wallen. Discussion.
Councilman Whalen, Councilman Standard, Councilman Romano, Councilman Baldwin, Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Resolution number 185 of 2018, a resolution authorizing the sale of equipment declared surplus by the town board and authorizing the highway department to sell the surplus equipment at public auction.
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Wallowit. Nice list of items here.
Very much so. As we pass a resolution to purchase vehicles, we also have to do it to sell vehicles. These are this is a list of some of the ones that we're looking to get rid of. A lot of these are near the end of their usefulness
Or well past
it. The average age of the piece of equipment we're selling is about 33 years old. So whatever we can't get, we're hoping to always net positive on this. So if we can't get what we're looking for in these auction prices, we have the option to take back the piece and sell it for scrap.
Good.
Get money out of it somehow.
Very good. Any questions on the surplus list? Okay, Beth.
Councilman Whalen, Councilman Standard, Councilman Romano, Councilman Baldwin, Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Resolution number 186 of 2018, a resolution authorizing town historian John Shearer to attend the Association of Public Historians annual conference.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Mrs. Standard. Discussion.
Councilman Whalen, Councilman Standard, Councilman Romano, Councilman Baldwin, Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Resolution number 187 of 2018, a resolution awarding the contract for email posting services per request for proposals.
Second?
Moved by Ms. Wallowit, second by Mrs. Standard. This move is somewhat unexpected. We've invested a tremendous amount of money over the last couple of years in the IT infrastructure of the town, servers, hardware, software, you name it. This is part of migration and a new town email system that will need to be established. ABS was one of 13 bidders. They are the town's IT provider currently. Had a very competitive bid. Obviously, they have familiarity with our system. We have familiarity with them. We have a fairly tight window to have this system established and then migrating all of the data to the new system. So they'll certainly be able to meet that timeline, which is very important. Any questions on this? Beth?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Walbert? Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 188 of 2018, a resolution adopting local law number 4 of 2018, amending sections 11-4 and 5-6 of the town code.
Moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Ms. Wallowit. I want to thank Chairman of the Emergency Services Advisory Board, Al Atwell, for speaking at the public hearing about this change. It will allow our first responder agencies to have a wider pool of folks that can serve on the Emergency Services Advisory Board, representing one of the many first responder agencies. The fact that they may not reside in Clifton Park, I do not think is necessarily an issue in this regard, because they are representing the first responder organization. And as we know, these folks are very dedicated to our community. And we also have first responder agencies that are on the borders. So it'll certainly help with those particular agencies. So for many reasons, I think it's a prudent step to move forward with this recommendation. Cheryl Reed, our fire marshal, she has also supported this move. Any further discussion? We had the public hearing and certainly some good input. So, okay, Pat? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was going to say, just to add to that, I mean, certainly having vacancies on the SEV doesn't make sense. So
Right.
from that standpoint, as you said, certainly we appreciate the service that these volunteers provide the faculty and non-residents who's willing to donate their time to the town to serve on the board is something we greatly appreciate.
Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Walbert? Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 189 of 2018, a resolution awarding a contract for weed control at the Clifton Knolls Ponds.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Wallowit, and we've been working with volunteers in Clifton Knolls and the Park District on various options for controlling the vegetation in the ponds. The treatments that we've initiated in past years, the options are smaller than they used to be, and the cost is much higher due to continued increase in regulations. So, this is one minor step that we can take, since the expense of the chemical treatments and the ability to get a permit for the chemical treatments are beyond our reach at this point. We are working with them on another option, which would involve mechanical harvesting of the weed growth and blooms that occur in the ponds. So we did see an impressive piece of equipment that was recently demoed. And we'll have some more information for you soon, and for consideration. It is something the Park District would like to move forward with, those volunteers. So we'll continue to work with them on these options, but the mechanical harvesting might be the best option from a fiscal standpoint, and also just guaranteeing results. The last thing we want to do is spend tens of thousands of dollars without guaranteed results, and that obviously doesn't make sense. So we're going to go in a different direction, and mechanical harvesting might be the way to go. But, like I said, we'll have more information for you soon. Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Walowitz?
Yes.
President Bear?
Yes.
Resolution number 190 of 2018, a resolution to authorize a professional service agreement for preparing an application for grant funding under the New York State Department of Transportation Alternatives and Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program.
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Walowitz. We're submitting a few different grant requests. This one in particular is for the Clifton Country Road area. And will help us on, we had 5 goals with the town center plan. One was to sustain the success of Exit 9, diversify the economy. Both of those have been accomplished. Improving connectivity between entities within Exit 9, and as you see with the new project across from the Hilton, those connections, the connections you see there, something you're going to see more in the future. Improve pedestrian access, and also improve aesthetics in the Exit 9 area. And this particular grant will accomplish 2 of those goals. So John, if you could just tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, the grant's due in 2 weeks. It's 80% federal, 20% local match that will be required. Recently, the town was notified of an award for $400,000, 100% federal funding for pedestrian improvements along the town center area, specifically from Clifton Country Road and Clifton Park Center Road, heading north along Clifton Country Road to Route 146.
Yeah, and that grant has been approved. So you're going to see some major improvements with pedestrian crossings in the Exit 9 area.
In between those pedestrian crossings from the Pedestrian Safety Action Plan grant that was awarded, we'll be improving some of the bike ped connections to those intersections, and also looking at some streetscape visual enhancements to encourage people to check down speeds. When you drive on Clifton Country Road, it is 2 lanes in each direction, so it gives the feeling of being an open road. Meanwhile, the posted speed limit is 30 miles an hour. It's a proven fact that people will drive a speed that they're comfortable and that the visual cues allow for. So by putting pedestrian scale amenities into that corridor, it's just a visual reminder for drivers that there's other users within that corridor, and reminds them to check the speeds down.
Very good. Any questions, discussion? Yes.
John, I'm sorry, got a question for you. Regarding visual cues to slow drivers down, do you have any examples of what those types of visual cues are, would enhance? I assume the idea is sort of trick the mind as an individual is driving to slow down as opposed to just going down sort of mindlessly at 45 miles an hour.
Yes, supplementing some of the tree plantings along within the town right-of-way to give that canopy appeal. In addition to that, high visibility crosswalks, signage, striping on the roads where you don't narrow the actual width of the pavement, but you narrow the lane width. If it's 12 feet wide, you can go to 11 feet wide. The average vehicle is below 7 feet in width. So it seems drastic, but there's a lot of room in those lanes. And just that visual narrowing effect of a lane for the cost of paint on the road is enough to give that cue that I need to go slower to stay into my lane.
Very good. So we hope for success on that grant as well, and that would be a great improvement for the Exit 9 area. Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard? Yes. Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Walowitz? Yes. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Resolution number 191. A resolution scheduling a public hearing to consider applications for the Conservation Easement Program.
Moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Ms. Walowitz. In addition to the 1,500 acres of open space that we have permanently protected since the year 2000, which has added new nature preserves and parks throughout the town, we also have a conservation easement program. Now, the open space program protected those acres permanently. Through the conservation easement program, it's a temporary protection program. Could be 15, 20, or 25 years. The landowner, in return for agreeing not to develop their property for a certain amount of time receives a tax break. The Krawickis from Grooms Road would like to renew theirs. And for the record, Mr. Krawicki is an employee with the town and the highway department. Any further discussion? Okay, Pat?
Councilman Wheelan?
Yes.
Councilman Stander?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Baldwin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, and it's a total of 67 acres, 67 and a half.
Resolution number 192 of 2018, a resolution authorizing the retention of Focus Technologies to complete digital scanning services for the Planning Department historical records.
Moved by Mr. 87, right? 87, two parcels, 87. Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Wallet.
Councilman Wheelan? Oh, you had a question?
John, one of the points here on the resolution, I'm sorry, was working in partnership with New York State Industries for the Disabled. It sounds like Rick Roy, I was wondering if you could sort of expand on what that is, that intrigued me.
NYSED is a state agency, state-run agency that has what they call preferred vendors. It's firms that qualify. Focus Technology is a preferred vendor. They're located in Manans, New York. Basically, 80% of the workforce, if not more, are permanently disabled adults that are employed full-time by Focus Technologies. Going through NYSED, Focus Technologies will get our records. Those individuals will work to scan our records. They'll look at quality control. Once the records are scanned, they're returned to us, the paper format, and then we also verify, from a quality control standpoint, the electronic images that have been returned to us. I can say with the 105,000 standard size images so far, we had a summer intern doing quality control. We did not find one error in the quality of the work done by the employees at Focus Technology, so they've been great to work with. We had an excellent grant. I can tell you the benefits today. I had 2 phone calls in the span of 30 minutes. One was for a plan from 1992, and one was for a plan from 2003. Within under 15 seconds, I was able to pull the electronic image and email that plan format to the individuals. So in the past, it used to be searching for a paper record, having to make a copy of the paper record, the resident coming in to pick up a large paper map that then they pay for. The electronic images can be emailed out in today's world within seconds.
And also, we do say kudos to the grant in the first place to digitize the records. Having been part of the, not here, but they haven't been part of the project to digitize the records. Like I can say from experience, how difficult and monumental a task that is. Once you become current with where you're at, it's much simpler.
It is.
So going back in time to digitize those records, massive undertaking. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thanks.
Very good. Any further discussion?
Councilman Wheelan?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Baldwin? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Resolution number 193 of 2018, a resolution authorizing an engineering design contract with MJ Engineering for the Moe Road Gap Closure Trail Project.
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Wallet. We completed a project along Crescent Road last year that ends right at the Octay School. That was one of many projects trail projects we've been able to complete, more than 16 miles of new trails, leveraging grants along the way. We were awarded last year a grant for this Moe Road Trail, which will continue where the last trail left off at Octay, and will continue down Crescent and up Moe Road. So that'll be a great connection for the town, because currently we do have trails on portions of Moe Road, but we need to close that gap to allow people to get from exit 8 all the way to 146 on a trail, and then eventually beyond. So the local match on this project, which again is already approved, the grant is already approved. Local match will be $212,000. So this will be a wonderful connection for the town. Any further discussion?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Walowitz? Vice President?
Yes.
Resolution number 194 of 2018, a resolution authorizing the assignment of ground lease and management agreement for the ice arena at Quixote.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. We've gone through the state of the arena back in 2000, where it is today, the incredible improvements that have been made, both fiscal and physically. I chronicled the dollars that the town has incurred and or saved along the way over the last 17 years. And I do want to again thank Scott Barbaro for his hard work and partnership all these years. If we do approve this resolution, the town will receive a check for $500,000 in a lump sum as part of the next payment. So that would be money that would go to the general fund. Okay. Any further discussion? Yes.
Comment I'd make, looking at the assignment here, it's certainly a large financial commitment that's being made by Mr. Burke and his partners. We certainly appreciate that. As I looked at this, my due diligence, certainly appreciate the financial commitment being made, the experience behind the project. Certainly, as a landlord, anytime there's an assignment of lease, there's a risk you undertake, but it helps to you do due diligence, know who you're doing business with, and appreciate the commitment that they are making to this. So I think we'll go into this eyes wide open. Looking forward to success. Moving forward, so thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm very confident that Mr. Burke and his team will to pick up where Scott Barbaro is leaving off and continue to make sure that our arena is a place where people that use it can be proud of it, and from a town funding standpoint will continue to generate operational profits. So we look forward to working with you, Mr. Burke and team. Okay. Beth?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Walowitz? Vice President?
Yes.
Resolution number 195 of 2018, a resolution awarding a bid for feasibility study for remedial action at the Riverview Landing wastewater treatment plant.
Moved by Ms. Walowitz, second by Mr. Whalen. Discussion. Okay, Beth?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano? Councilman Walowitz? Vice President?
Yes.
Resolution number 196 of 2018, a resolution authorizing the climate change order for the well house replacement project on Missionary Road, Owensville.
Moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Mrs. Standard.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano? Councilman Walowitz? Vice President?
Yes. Okay, did it pass? All right, at this point, we'll go to, is there any other business coming before the board at this time? Okay, at this point, we'll go to public privilege. If you'd like to speak on a town matter, please raise your hand. Once you come forward, state your name and address for the record, and please keep it to 5 minutes or less. Thanks, see you. See you, Kelly. Yes, sir.
Yep, could I speak?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, there it is. Wow, that's only 50,000. I think you're missing a zero. No, this is
I thought this
this
was
is
public speaking.
part of the profits. So
Thank you.
there you go. You can think of that to you. How you doing?
Hi, my name is Brian Geary. I live, what else do I need?
Brian, what is your last name?
Geary, G-E-A-R-Y.
Thank you.
I'd like to start by recognizing and commending you on your decision to reinstate Brian Zerpak. As you've learned, he is, and as you can see tonight, he's a staple in this community and an individual with integrity and character. He should always be seen in this manner and respected as such. Brian is a mentor, a coach, co-worker, and close friend of mine that resembles a combination of a father-like figure and a brother-like figure in my life. I know how much he loved his job and how appreciative he is to see everybody here, or to hear that people are here tonight supporting him. Kind of just goes to show the stand-up guy he is. However, the whole swimming lesson thing was the tip of the iceberg. There are much more issues that have been going on all summer. I know firsthand from being an employee and for overseeing the swim lesson program. There's more things to discuss than just the swimming lesson issue. This goes all the way back until March and all summer long, how deadlines have not been met, communication has been disrespectful and inappropriate with lifeguards, teenagers, and other employees by town officials. We have neglected to receive simple supplies such as hoses, pens, chlorine, just to name a few, cards for the members. We haven't had membership cards since, I don't know if anyone has them yet. Okay. That's an issue. It wasn't addressed. He was pushed into a corner and was resigned, and it's a good move to put him back, but I think we need some answers. Moving forward, what will be different? How can we know that things will be running the way they have been for the past 25 years of his tenure? And how do we know that we'll get stuff like cardstock, chlorine, pens, things that you need to run a pool? Just like to know.
Well, I've been speaking to Dwayne and Bruce on a regular basis over the last couple of weeks. There were some things that needed to get taken care of, and they have. And, part of the discussion, well, I shouldn't get into the discussion, but Brian and I will be working closely together, as well as the other leaders of the pool staff. I mean, we do have a great staff. I mean, they have a lot of years of experience.
I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but you mentioned you and Brian will be working together. In my 15 years working at the pool, I've seen Mila Kramer, the one that we report to. I've seen Dan Bull. I've seen Matt Andrews. And this is the summer that it's really fallen apart. Past few years have been great. And this seemed like this year is obviously when things blew up. I want to know how things will be implemented immediately, tomorrow. How will things be running? Is it directly to you now? Are you the next one that...
Brian and I will be working closely together, just as I'm working closely with Bruce, Dwayne, and the pool staff leaders.
Okay. And we can be ensured that simple supplies and communication will be more respectful and open over the next few weeks of summer.
Whatever the needs of the pool, whatever needs of the pool are requested will be met. But I think we do need to do more in the realm of future planning. So we've got a lot of things to discuss as a team over the next month or two.
Okay, and one more thing is Brian has been a hero of mine, and I'm sure many other people in this room. I think I'd be one of many that are kind of almost expecting an apology in a lot of ways. The way his name was tarnished, the way he was kind of targeted and used as a scapegoat for a lot of other issues. I think that's something that a lot of people would be in favor of.
Yes.
Well, we had as I mentioned, I contacted him the week he resigned. I hadn't spoken to him before or since his resignation. We were able to meet last week. We had a very good discussion. I think he and I are on the same page as far as the pool going forward and what needs to occur at the pools on a regular basis. So, we had a good discussion, and I think he and I are on the same page, and that's where it's at.
Okay. I just think it would be nice to apologize for, after 26 years being...
Well, he and I will continue to speak on a regular basis, and...
Still not addressing what I'm saying.
We talked about that, how
Only
things
guards
will
were
be structured
harassed.
going forward.
The
But
guards
that's-
were harassed as well.
I understand. Thank you.
But I don't think you do, because I keep saying I think that there needs to be an apology, and I haven't seen one or heard one yet. I'm glad to hear that you guys are working together and on the same page, but that doesn't change what's been going on all summer long. It really doesn't,
like I
because
said,
he can't get these months back. He can't get those news reports and his name off the internet because of things that were taken out on him, and that deserves an apology.
Well, I wouldn't. I wouldn't phrase it that way. You know, I don't think anybody.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm going to speak now. My name is Bernadette DiMaria. I live at 53 Valencia Lane.
Sorry, could you repeat your name?
Bernadette DiMaria. First of all, I would like to inform everyone that I am an employee of one of the town pools. I have been working there for the past 7 summers. And I would like to be guaranteed that any employee of the town pools is not reprimanded for coming and speaking their respectful opinion at this meeting.
You there?
Well, will you say that you're not going to yell at anyone or sternly speak to anyone for coming and sharing their opinion respectfully?
No.
So could you just clarify that you're not going to? Because that sounded like you were.
No, I'm not.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So, we mentioned the card readers, which you had known had been purchased all at the same time. And it felt like, as a town employee, it was not put as a priority to have those replaced, which is an extremely important part of how we run our pools. And it could cost the town money, because right now, are you planning on having us make IDs for everyone, which honestly is a waste of materials at this far stage of the summer? So you're planning on having them be made for everyone?
I don't know yet.
Okay. Also, I was wondering, have you ever heard of something called in-service that the lifeguards do in order to practice and maintain their skills?
Yes.
Okay. So in your opinion, is it a good practice that the pool managers have put intact?
That they put intact? You mean the...
That they've enacted in order for us to practice our
Yes.
skills?
Yes.
Why would you criticize someone for changing the time that was held? Because I know that one of the pool managers had been doing it in the afternoons because he didn't want to make his guards have to wake up extra early so they wouldn't be tired when they were guarding. So why would you criticize a pool manager for doing this after the end of the work shift and say that he was breaking into the pool when he has a key?
I don't think anybody accused anybody of breaking into it.
Maybe just tax fraud.
But thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for this time, and I will take this all into consideration.
Thank you.
Hello.
How are ya?
Good, how are you?
Good.
My name is Stephanie Morgan. I live at 4 Evergreen Terrace, Alston. Kind of feeding off of what Brian and Bernadette had said, I want to know if there's going to be a public apology for Brian. I want like a direct answer for Brian, and as well as your employees in the town of Clifton Park. Because you and Matt Anders as well came in, told us that we were doing criminal behavior for teaching water safety to, I mean, many of these parents have children who need to learn water safety. That's a huge liability if somebody doesn't know how to swim. I know that I personally feel harassed and degraded as a town employee working there for 5 years as a water safety instructor and lifeguard. Brian is like a father figure to me in the way his reputation was dragged through the mud, his name, our pool's name. And it's not just the Burning Bush pool, it's all the other pools as well regarding these private lessons that you have also claimed to not know are going on, even though they have been going on for decades, and people in this building referred parents to us to teach private swimming lessons. Either the people in this building are completely oblivious to the things that are happening in their town, or you're just straight up blind. So is there going to be a public apology for your town employees and for somebody who for 26 years had a spotless reputation, made this pool so successful, as you can see? Is there going to be an actual public apology, not an apology between you and Brian that nobody can read, that nobody can see, much like the counseling memo that you talked about? I want to know if there's going to be a public apology.
Okay.
It's a question, it's a yes.
Yeah, well, I've already answered that question.
You didn't.
No, you didn't.
The answer was Brian answered.
A public apology is in front of the public.
I understand.
But you didn't answer my question. You didn't say yes or no.
I answered that question earlier.
You
Thank
didn't. Reading a statement that says that you're reinstating Brian Zerpak as pool manager is one thing. It's a smart decision, and I commend you for that decision
Well,
because.
I think it's, like I said, I think that's a good result, but Brian
Right,
asked
but
me
I
the
wasn't
same question,
finished.
and
Right, but I
I
also
answered
just
the
wasn't
question at
finished.
that time.
So next.
That doesn't answer any. I mean, I'll just step down now because at this point we'll probably just be talking in circles, and I can stand up knowing that I've spoken for Brian and the staff that I work with, who have been running the pool without a pool manager for about 3 weeks. So, like, round of applause for those guards, Dylan. You know, you were saying that communication is now going to be directly between you and Brian. Why was there no communication before that? Even between Brian and Matt and other people, why was there no, that should be established from the start. Why did you not communicate with Brian and giving him the supplies that he needed to run a pool?
Like I said, Brian and I have had a very good discussion, and we're going to be working closely together
But why
the rest
were
of the summer and into the future.
Why were you not working so closely
So-
before?
Well, when there's issues that arise at different entities within the town, it's incumbent upon me to get personally involved in many cases. Whether it's the issues that occurred down at the senior center, certainly I spent a lot of time down at the senior center when those issues occurred. When the private organization that ran the facility went out of business. Could be the transfer station, could be any entities in town.
Did you directly communicate with Matt Andrews about the pools?
Well,
throughout the summer?
yeah, we discussed things about the pool, sure.
And Brian communicated with Matt about these supplies. So wouldn't it be Matt's job to communicate to you that we need these supplies?
Well, obviously, there's a communication chain and chain of command within the town, yes.
There was a lack of chlorine, we couldn't start swimming lessons. There was no
Well,
card reader.
there was-
Probably about
There was
80% of the
chlorine
members.
there.
I'm
There
also
was chlorine at the pool. and we
Kiddie
had
pool was
a-
dry, and if we ran that chlorine, we would have had to be closed for the weekend, which is also just embarrassing, but whatever.
Well, no, because we had a truck that came in that morning.
40 minutes late. We were promised it at
Well,
a
half hour
certain.
late.
We were promised it at a certain time, and it didn't
Yeah,
come
it
at
was
that time.
half hour late.
Regardless, the
Well,
ID printer.
Instead of 9:30, it was 10
The
o'clock.
ID printer was not given
Yeah,
to us
that's
until
correct.
just now.
Right.
80% of our members don't have ID cards, and that is, when you enter the pool, you show your ID so that
Right.
we're not letting people in for
I
free.
understand, absolutely.
And now we're not even sure how to run this system. We didn't get pens, we didn't get hoses, we didn't get any of the supplies we needed to run the pool. And you're telling me it's a lack of communication, but you didn't even reach out and communicate to Brian. And as far as I know, Matt didn't communicate anything to you. So why are you shutting out Brian and not communicating with him?
I'm not shutting up, Brian. So we're going to be working together.
But why did you not work
Make
closely
sure-
together in the past?
Like I said, we have a chain of command within the town. And
Nobody
so-
communicated with him. Your chain of command fell apart. So.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Moses. What, this, yeah.
Mr. Barrett, my name is Jennifer Labonte.
Hi.
I live at 9 Stewart Drive in Half Moon.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke with you briefly the day that the chlorine was late regarding the private lessons, and you had said that that would be resolved that weekend. Can you just tell me what the resolution was regarding the private lessons at Burning Bush?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? What was late?
When I spoke with you the day that the chlorine was late, I had asked you about what was happening going forward with the private lessons that were offered at Burning
Oh,
Bush
yeah.
School.
Yeah.
And you had said things would be resolved that weekend. Could you tell me, I'm just curious to know what the resolution was for private lessons.
Well, the town has an individual lesson program.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what you mean?
Well, my question to you is that we've been paying the private instructor is $20 per half hour. For a child that needs it. Obviously, I have some children in the group lessons. I have one child who needs that additional instruction.
Sure.
And I've been very happy to pay the $20 per half hour. I actually have a family friend who I've been paying, who's an instructor at the pool. Are those instructors still receiving that full $20 per half hour?
No, the way it's been structured is it's $20 per half hour that is charged to the parent. The instructor is paid $17 per lesson for the half hour.
For the half hour.
Yes.
Does that include tax?
And we had several guards that signed up for the individual lessons, and they've been giving those lessons. As we expand the hours, some of the time will be when there is not lifeguards on duty. So if they're giving lessons outside the normal operating hours of the pool,
Okay.
then there'll need to be 2 lifeguards on the deck as well as the lifeguards that are in the pool giving individual lessons.
Okay. And any instructor is free to give lessons privately, or is it just a certain select group that have been handpicked?
Whoever is signed up to participate.
Okay. And so they will be receiving $17 per half hour then?
Right, per half hour lesson, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Moses, did you?
Yes, whatever, to go back to what we said, right?
Yeah?
They are right, it is necessary to have a public apology, not necessarily from you, but from all of us to Brian, because there were articles, I did not see them, but everyone told me about them, that were really defensive. And I had a woman that I met, one of my aides, said to me, did you read this story about Brian? She had just met him recently. And I said, well, no, but I heard about it. She said, oh, it's very similar to what happened at the senior center. And I came with it. I said, it has nothing like that at all. I said, don't ever compare that. But see, that's what's happening. People are taking it, but it's not a nice guy. So we have to apologize publicly for those articles that were in the paper.
Well, we weren't pushing those articles. We weren't pushing those articles, and
Yes, we did that.
sir.
The town's quoted him though.
Actually put mine on paper. I'm actually going to have my
May I have your
son-in-law-
name, please, and your
Yes,
address?
you may. And it's also on paper. It's Alan Robson. I live at 29 Sakata Drive, Clifton Park, New York. I'll hand these out to you. I'm going to have my son-in-law read it because I've got dry mouth, and then you can ask questions of me if you wish.
Thank you.
I would first like to thank the lifeguards of the Clifton Park pools. While accusations have been made that you have been involved in criminal activity, we, the citizens of Clifton Park, do appreciate your efforts. I've read that drowning is the leading cause of death for children ages 1 to 4, and the second leading cause of death for children ages 1 through 14. It takes less than 60 seconds for a child to drown, and you are the front line of protection at our town pools. I would also like to thank you for being willing to work for less than minimum wage while being held to such a high level of responsibility. I understand that you could work elsewhere for greater pay and with much less political saga. Thank you. I would like to voice my grave concern on how the town board members have handled their objections regarding the leadership of Mr. Zerpek and the allowance of private lessons. The way this was handled has caused one of the pools the town manages to function without a pool manager. Lack of manager, lack of chlorine, and lack of photo IDs probably has brought more liability and fiscal questions than the actions they were trying to prevent. I recognize that lifeguards providing swim lessons on their own private time brings increased liability to themselves, but I question the liability to the town. Parents should be allowed to teach their children in the method they believe is best for their children. Whether that be through friends, family, or off-duty lifeguards, parents should have that Should a lifeguard provide off-duty private lessons, I would think that the liability to the town would remain the same as if any other unpaid, non-supervised town person were to teach a person how to swim. Regarding the financial concern of the town, I had one person ask me how I would feel if my employees provided computer technology services in my office to individuals, basically competing with me. My answer was that the town of Clifton Park should not be a for-profit entity that is trying to compete with the citizens of Clifton Park. The town should be asking the question, what can we do to make Clifton Park a great place to work and live? Then the objective should be to see how they can make that happen. In the case of the pools, the town should ask the parents what they would like and then find ways to support their desires. I think that most parents would like to have the freedom of selection on how their child is taught to swim. I am confident that the town could have come up with a way to handle this if they wished, and it did not need to include the town taking a cut of the money. Should the town take the position that it is a grave act when town employees are collecting additional income on town property without the town being the middleman of that transaction, then the town needs to take this position town-wide. Currently, it seems that lifeguards are being unreasonably discriminated against. Is the town going to disallow teachers from providing tutoring in the town library? What about the librarians that provide tutoring at the library? What about town employees who try to give golf tips at the town golf course? Are we going to fire all the town managers who have town employees conducting such criminal acts? Are we going to demand that all these town managers be trained in how to conduct their jobs or write public apologies? What I find really interesting here is that we have a story of three individuals, Mr. Zerpeck, Mr. Barrett, and Mr. Andrews. All three individuals have been accused of doing terrible things by those they report to. In one case, the town board, and the other, the citizens of the town. All individuals, I believe, were trying to do what they felt was in the best interest of the citizens of Clifton Park. Everyone believes that the accusations made up about them are false and blown out of proportion. All individuals receive knee-jerk reactions by their accusers. I find the similarities remarkable. I would love to see reconciliation brought to these situations and have thought about how it should be brought. I believe it should follow the proposed resolution the town gave to Mr. Zerpeck. If my understanding of how they handled it is true, I would consider the action too harsh for an individual who has dedicated 26 years of service and has a great track record of leadership. I have several employees with over 20 years of service for my company, and I pray that I would never treat them the way the town treated Mr. Zerpeck. However, if we were to use this standard for all players, then I guess we would need to ask Mr. Barrett and Mr. Andrews to either write a public apology to the citizens of Clifton Park, even though they do not feel they have done anything wrong, and to receive training on how to do their jobs from someone with a tenth of their experience, or to resign. Now, if this sounds like too great an ultimatum, then I would need to ask these two gentlemen why it is too great an ultimatum for themselves, but not for Mr. Zerpeck.
Yes.
As a citizen of Clifton Park, I am just as outraged with your actions as you were with Mr. Zerpeck. So I do not know why you should receive any less of a consequences than received by Mr. Zerpeck.
Thank you. Yeah, the question about the library's come up a couple of times. The question about the library's come up a couple of times that he just mentioned. I don't know what the structure of the tutoring is at the library, what they allow, if they allow library employees to tutor for money at the library. I'm not sure. It is a separate entity from the town. They have a separate board of trustees that are elected trustees. So we don't have any say over their policies or how they conduct their business. So, but that has come up a couple of times, questions about tutors at the library. But yes, please, yes.
Good evening, my name is Valerie Plumbo, and I live at 9 Trevor Court in Clifton Park. I am a parent who has been taking my daughter to the pools since she was 1.5, actually 6 months old, but she started the group lessons at Barney Road when she was 1.5. We loved it, we thought it was wonderful, and when she was about 3, I think 3.5, We ended up going up to, as a guest with a friend. She said, come on up to Barney Road, or up to Country Knolls, and we did, and we loved it. And we thought it was, we drive from exit 8, we pass 2 pools, and we have thought is run immaculately, and that was because of Brian. And we have nothing but wonderful things to say about Brian, the staff, the lifeguards, the way it's run. I had a pool growing up, so lessons and swim lessons are critical. They're not an option. We also just had a 45-year-old friend or 40-year-old friend die of a drowning accident. He knew how to swim, so we know personally how critical it is. And also, I agree that some parents need to have their child learn in a specific way. We did the lessons at Country Knolls, the group lessons. They were great, but she needed more individualized attention, and I think it was just too much with too many kids. And I saw the tremendous progress of these private lessons last year, with just about 4 lessons between 2 guards. I'm trying to understand the statute where there's a liability for having master swim instructors who are Red Cross certified come on their own time. I'm confused. What is the liability to the town?
Well, the issue is really public employees at a town facility
What if they're members too, though?
giving the service for payment.
But this is a member pool.
Yeah,
We paid to be a member of this pool, and it's not a taxpayer-funded pool where everyone in the town is.
It is. It's a public. It's a public.
Right, but you have to join. You still have to join. You
Oh,
still
yeah,
have to pay.
yeah.
So why don't the members have a say in how lessons are being run?
Well, you don't have to join the lessons.
Right. Oh, I know. That's. But it's also a hard
we
time
give-
to do sometimes for some kids. She loves
Yeah.
she loves the half day camp at Octay. So one year we did half day camp at Octay, so an hour and a half of that, and then we ran up to do the lessons, and it got too hectic.
Sure.
And also she wasn't getting enough out of it, so that's when we decided the following year we would just do the private lessons. So
Right.
I guess also the timing.
So
There's not enough spots in the group lessons.
Yep.
The time for some parents, and I've talked to many parents who both work, they can't have their kids come during the morning, so they need to do evening. We don't do evening group lessons. Their only option is private lessons.
Right.
So I guess I'm not understanding why this is a problem in terms of, I guess, having these guards work on their own time. They're not working, they are certified, they are employees, but they're working on their off time. Now are they going to be working on pool time, like the time that they're guards, and are there going to be restricted times when private lessons can take place?
Well, you pointed out one issue, well, a couple, but we do give group lessons to approximately 700 kids this year. So
But there's still a
but the
waiting list.
lesson,
There's still always a waiting list.
I don't think there was this year.
Yeah.
I assist ran the program. There's a waiting list at 10:15.
Okay.
About 20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Right, the community's growing. That's the
Well,
reality.
but as you can see tonight, there's people from other towns that not only come to the pools on a regular basis, but have their children taking lessons. And it's important, if the town is going to offer lessons, that they are offered to everybody. So the Learn to Swim program, you don't need to be a member to participate. And the same should be true.
I think that's great.
And the same should be true for individual lessons. So if there is a service being provided by town employees, it should be offered to everybody.
Okay.
And that's an important point as well. Apparently there were lessons, and I don't know how many, and I don't know how many guards, I guess at least one, but not every guard that was giving the private lessons was certified.
Okay.
So that is an issue as well.
That's the liability.
Well, that's part of it, yes, that's part of it. That kind of highlights the liability, and, obviously there wasn't any ill intent by any of these guards that were giving the lessons, but it is important if there are town employees in a town facility providing a service, in this case swim lessons, that it be done through a town program for a whole host of reasons.
Okay. But as of right now, are lessons going to be provided this year? Like in August, can she take lessons? Because she has not gotten
Well,
one lesson this year yet.
They've been given. We are continually giving the individual lessons.
And how is that? How is that? So I saw on the resolution too that there are only 2, 4, 6 listed giving lessons. I don't. Are there any from Country Knolls here that are listed?
No, there's no. So far, there hasn't been anybody from Country Knolls that has participated.
So it's their choice as to whether they want to participate, and they have to be approved by the town board. So there's no one as of right now teaching at Country Knolls under this program.
Correct.
And then
Correct.
what are
Well, the only approval they need is if they have the certification.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
And then what about the times? I've been told that there's an extremely limited window of time during which the lessons are given, which sounds
Well, the Learn to
unreasonable.
Swim program was still ongoing when we started, so now that that's over, it does open up additional times for us at all the pools.
So will they occur in the morning, or can they occur during pool time, like during the afternoon, let's say, like 2
Yeah, we
o'clock?
do have the opportunity to have them in the morning, during the week, as well as Saturdays.
Okay, how about
So it's really
the
based
afternoon?
on the availability of the guards giving the lessons. I mean, if they're available, we will book those lessons.
So are they working on their personal time, or are they working like outside their guard hours? So if they have a shift, and I
Yeah, they're
don't know
working
what
outside
shifts
their
are.
guard hours.
So they're working outside.
Yeah.
So it's
And-
still coordinated directly through the guards.
No, through the town.
Okay, so now we have to contact Parks and Rec and do it
Yep.
that way.
Yeah, and it's all done online, so hopefully that makes it a little easier.
And I guess one last question I have, and I'm really confused as to this. Why is the town trying to make $3 a lesson?
We're not trying to.
I mean, I guess I'm confused because if this is a life-saving, valuable life skill that we should want every child to have, and any adult who needs to learn to swim too. Why are we trying to? We just got a $500,000 check for the arena.
Yep.
We have surpluses. We're going to save millions on the lights that we're going to be.
Well, we have
we're gonna be
money
buying.
because we find ways to save money. And
Right, but why are we
leverage
trying to
our
get?
money.
Why is the town trying to profit on $3 per
No,
lesson?
we're not trying to profit.
So why don't we give that whole $20 to the lifeguards?
This opens opportunities not only for the individual lessons, but also, as I mentioned, we're going to have guards on the deck if it's outside, if the lessons are being given outside of normal pool operating hours.
You need the guards.
Yeah, so we'll have additional guards on the deck as well. So, it might end up a loss, might end up even, it'll be somewhere.
I also just want to say
May I
thank
just say that
Go ahead.
your 5 minutes?
Okay, I just want to also say thank you for reinstating Brian. He's a gem and basically a diamond in our community, and we're lucky to have him back because he's what keeps that pool running the way it does.
Can I just say a quick thing? I want to say to all, the apology is not only to Brian, it's really owed to everybody that's sitting here and the entire pool community, because when we go to Clifton Park Pool, there's always a smile on my face. The lifeguards are always there and delightful to be with. But this year, when I taught Walter Shen all year, and I loved it, you've heard me talk nothing but praise about Shen's system. But this year, this was one of the worst summers I can remember. I didn't see the lifeguards smiling. They were taking our chairs and doing all the things, but they didn't seem happy, and we weren't happy. Today was my 4th time there all year, and it was only because of the weather. So I think the apology is not only Brian's, but to everybody sitting there and the people that aren't even here because they couldn't make it tonight. It was a terrible summer for us, just awful.
Well, it's okay. Very good. I do appreciate.
Were you going to address what you said?
What's that?
Are you going to address what Arlene said? Like as an apology?
Well, I mean, I understand there's been a disruption this year. Nobody enjoys that disruption. So to the well. Well, yeah, I mean, Arlene, nobody likes it. I mean, the timing of everything that occurred obviously was not the best of timing, and to that extent, it's a shame what happened. But we need to move forward in a positive manner, and we can certainly do that. And we are doing that. So, to the extent that there were, okay, hold on, Mr. Zerpak. To the extent that anything that was not 100% done correctly by the town, I do apologize for that. And that's true of everything, because I want to be 100% on everything we do. Now, once in a while, that doesn't happen, okay? So our team needs to take a step back, take stock in what's happened, and move forward. And hopefully, and it seems as though, moving forward together. And that's so. I want you to have a great next month, Arlene, at the pool. Okay, and I want that for everybody. I want us to have a great finish to this year for the pools. With everybody pulling together and working together. That's certainly my goal. That's the message that we've sent down to anybody involved with the pools, to Bruce and Dwayne and everybody at all three pools, Arnie, Locust, and Country Knolls. So, you know, I do, it is, to the extent that there were mistakes made along the way, that is regretful, but like I said, we'll be working closely with Brian and everybody else, and over the last couple of weeks, a lot of the issues that were brought up tonight have been resolved, albeit later than they should have, in some cases. Mr. Zerpak?
Thank you.
I certainly appreciate people's comments on the subject.
Sure.
Al Zerpak, 20 Ballston Way, 46 years in Clifton Park.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 40 years at swim pools. 4 children, that's what happens. I'm here to address not so much Brian and his experience, but more or less things that I saw that were rumored. Things that came out in the newspapers. And that sort of bothered me a little bit. Well, a lot, actually. I can't lie at that point.
Mm-hmm.
One was the safety factor. And from my perspective, I'm sure everybody knows this, but to repeat it publicly, to be a pool manager like Brian requires certification, renewal, a lot of training. So it really bothered me when I heard rumors. You know, I wasn't there, I can't substantiate it. Rumors that town employees, administration-wise, were telling the guards to open the pool regardless of the chlorine level and proceed in that direction. To me, that's you know, dereliction of responsibility as public servants. That really bothered me.
Well,
if that's the procedure to save money and not the public error, and to put young kids at
well, no, that I can.
That's what happened. That's what happened.
Yeah. Well, I can assure you that did not happen. Apparently, the truck and when I was down at Country Knolls, I was made aware. I don't know what day that was. A couple weeks ago.
13th.
I was made aware that we get a delivery every week of chlorine. And what happened was, I guess due to the heavy storm that occurred, the truck couldn't get in that close area between the fence and the trees. So he didn't deliver that week. So on Thursday, I asked Dwayne to, I think it was Thursday. Yeah, I think that was the day that they started later. Dwayne showed me, and there's individual vats of chlorine. And there was plenty of chlorine for the pool. Now, with warm weather that was going to occur that day, or the following day and that weekend, you would need to make sure you have more chlorine. But we had made arrangements for delivery first thing Monday morning, which we thought would be 9:30 a.m. So there was enough chlorine to run the pool for that day at least. The truck showed up at about 10 o'clock, or a little after 10 that morning. So no, there was chlorine to run the pool. So and then we did get the delivery Friday morning.
Well, the other thing that sort of bothered me is I recall a few years back, over my 40 years of pool experiences, that some of the previous pool overseers would handle matters in a direct manner. And then like this year, it appears we have like 5 or 6 layers of management. And Mr. Barrett, I don't know why your valuable time had to be put onto that situation to quell it. I mean, seriously, there's like 5, 6, 4 people below you that are there to help mediate issues. If somebody calls you up on the telephone and says, gosh, you're too noisy at 9 o'clock in the pool because you're giving safety lessons, well, Brian should be giving, there's a step process of employee improvement without going in and, with a lawyer or whatever and accusing Brian of inappropriate behavior. And that's knows, or country knows, they're paying $15,000 or whatever to the town board. If the intermediate management level isn't handling your job, I mean, are we going to increase your salary $15,000?
No.
I don't think exactly. But the people are there, and it should be handled on a face-to-face, not in a room with a lawyer and an accusation. Sign this or else. And that's what it was.
Yeah.
Brian didn't get fired. He didn't get his salary reduced. He was just giving an impossible destination to take. And that's, after 36 years, that's really sad to hear that was the case. And I don't have the details. Just rumors. The other thing is, I'm really concerned about is the fact that, again, it's rumors, but I heard that a lot of wave motion, Tasami came before Brian's meeting, that people on the board, and I'm excluding everybody on the board, Mr. Barrett. I mean, there's references in the newspaper about the board being involved. The board was not involved. There was only a couple of people that had some issues. But Brian was already given a bad warning about his performance in the pool. So it didn't happen just because. It happened publicly, on a public land, by public officials. And I think as a public servant, I think we should hold you guys to a much higher standard. And it wasn't the board here on accusing. That was not the case. But there certainly were instances where people spoke in a manner that I don't think was professional public service.
Yes? Oh, left your hat, Mr. Zerbeck.
I'll be back later. I need $3 because they're really
Throw that in with a lesson.
Mary Lou Klassen, 4 Blue Spruce Lane, Ballston Lake. Official town pool person. I live behind the pool. I've lived behind the pool for 39 years. I see what goes on there. You know where I live, Phil. And you know I'm a busybody. And you know I've been in League of Women Voters for many years and very interested in town government. So I do want to say I hope that the town is going to do something in appreciation, have some kind of an event for all the people at the town and to make this right.
Yep.
You know, that would be something that would help. I also didn't like your comment about the chlorine truck and the storm. I lived there. I know it wasn't wet. It does not get wet. It's sand. It goes right through. Down in the pool, it gets a pond. But up where the chlorine truck has to go, it's not wet. So,
Well,
please.
it's wet if it rains hard.
It's
and
wet,
It is
but it goes right
sandy,
through.
dirty.
It goes right
that's
through.
The,
It goes
that
right
was
through
the,
there.
That was the story that I received, and
Well-
it seemed to make sense. They come every week, so I don't know why they wouldn't want to deliver.
Well, I'm just telling you-
Obviously, if they don't come, they're not making money.
I'm just
so
telling you what I see.
So we get a weekly delivery. I don't know why they wouldn't want to.
I know that the trucks come around there all the time. I see
Yeah,
it.
oh yeah.
And I also watched the baby pool being, or the toddler pool being rebuilt this year was wonderful.
Yeah.
And they did an excellent job. So I do think you need to do something for the community.
Yep. Okay, again, thank you, appreciate it, and we're going to, yes, Mr. Mason.
I was in awe at all the wonderful things that you read earlier of what you did and what you're doing. I was also in awe of the amount of money that you do. Now,
You mean in the beginning of the meeting? Oh, yeah, the amount of money, yeah, yeah.
Surely there must be someone to make Bernie Bush Pool accessible for handicapped,
Yes,
such as I who fell down finally that terrible thing.
yeah, and you and I talked about that recently.
I would like to say that it seems like many people can find the money and find someone to just figure out how to change it. I think Brian even had an idea. I saw him like, I didn't hear him, but I saw him talking to someone going like this, like saying to change the angle.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm
No,
not.
I'm glad you talked to me about that,
I'm
yeah.
not the one to make the decision, but I definitely am the one who wants to help.
No, I understand that, I'm glad you,
Oh, yeah, Brian should have done the
right. Yeah. So we will be looking at that, yeah. If we, yeah. Well, everything costs money, Mrs. Huh? Well, if the pool was built today, certainly it would be built to different standards, that's for sure. Probably goes for a lot of things, maybe even the diving boards. Yeah. You're not going to be diving. Well, there's still time. Yes.
May I see?
Sure.
My name is Lisa Camille Dockett. I live at 22 Parkside Drive in Boston Lake. I just want to say a few things about Brian. I don't have a child who's a lifeguard. All of my interaction with Brian Zerpak is from my attending the pool since 2004, since my son was about 1 year old. He's always been the face of that pool. He's dedicated, he's hardworking, he's a professional town employee, and he's become a beloved member of our community, as I'm sure you can see from the footage. He's also an exemplary role model for the lifeguards who serve under him. Mr. Barrett, you made reference tonight to how that pool has been functioning in Brian's absence, and I think we'd be remiss to recognize that that is in large part due to the way in which he has trained those guards. He has trained them. He's trained them to be professional and disciplined. When I was there 2 weeks ago, there was an accident in the kiddie pool, and 2 guards had to clean that up. There was no pool manager to refer to. but they did it seamlessly, efficiently, and professionally. And I think that is the way in which Brian runs that pool. You know, I just want to say that it would have been a tremendous loss to the town to have lost him as a pool manager. I'm very grateful that the town is reinstating him. I think that it's begun the process of making this right again, and as a community member and as a pool member, I appreciate that, and we'll be very happy to have Brian back. It's for the best of this community that he'll be back there. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Stoner Hawkins in Walston Lake. I just had a question about the private swim lessons. We moved here from Kansas City about 5 years ago, and my daughter she's 7, she has sensory processing disorder, which is on the autism spectrum. And we saw that group lessons were not helping her. She was very anxious and had trouble dealing with that, and I was grateful that she was able to take private lessons because everybody else was at the pool, frankly. So I'm glad you finally have a policy for private lessons. It's late, and my daughter doesn't have any more private lessons because we go to Country Knolls. And unfortunately, we're not able to go to Barney Knolls, right? Whatever that, Barney Roads, whatever it's called. So I have a question then. Who makes the resolutions for these lessons, and how does that work? Is that something you're discussing with the new director? How does that happen? What's going on?
From what part are you asking about me?
So you have a private lessons policy in place now with a specific amount of guards, 1 hour. I don't know. I'm trying to understand what's going on with the private lessons.
Okay, so if you go on the town website, there's a portal where you can look at the guards that are participating and the hours that they will be giving lessons and what is available. And then you can sign up online.
And that is only at one pool, one of the 3 pools?
Well, currently, yes. But as I said, when Learn to Swim ended, it did open up some opportunities for, because we like to do some at Country Knolls as well.
Right. So I'm just going to ask respectfully that the town board understand what has been happening at this pool for decades, where the parents have the flexibility to talk with guards and make it work according to their schedule. I mean, I know you have to have some sort of control over it. That was the big issue that happened. But I just want my daughter to swim.
Sure.
And she needs to take the private lessons. So, you know, at this point, I'll use my money and I will register for those lessons, but let it work for us.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Well, yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Deborah Prudhomme, Prudhomme. I live in Clifton Park. I've been using the pools for a few years. At one time I had my own pool, so I didn't need to really go to the town pools, but I've been doing that for a few years now. And one of the comments that was made was that it was kind of a bad year as far as the morale of the lifeguards. I don't go to the Clifton Knolls, it's Clifton Knolls, Country Knolls, whatever, that pool in particular. I go to the Barney Barney Road pool. And I'm not sure what the politics are this year. This woman was mentioning that the morale seems bad and not a lot of smiles. I found that to be completely the opposite. I think that these kids are mature enough. And have very wide ambitions going forward. This is just, you know, summer jobs for them so they can make money to continue to go to school. Okay?
No. You took that Barney Road.
Elaine, yeah, let her.
That's all right. That's okay. Maybe there's a point that I missed. My point was going to be that the lifeguards always have a smile on their face, no matter what's going on behind the scenes. That's all I was going to say as far as that goes. So I don't know really if some of these things aren't happening at Barney Road, maybe that were happening at the other pools. That could very well be.
Brian Zerpak didn't work at Barney Road.
Pardon me?
Brian Zerpak worked at Country Knolls. Their
Yes,
pool
I know
manager is
that.
not dragged through the mud. That's why the morale is so low at Country Knolls.
Okay. May I ask if all of the lifeguards are brought in that meeting from all of the pools?
No. Country Knolls lifeguards.
It was singled out.
It wasn't all three?
No.
Okay. I have a question regarding the payment to the lifeguards. Why is it that they don't make minimum wage?
Well, some do, some don't. But
Still haven't made minimum wage at all? 5 years.
7
years
minimum wage. Public entity.
So,
But that doesn't have to.
well, we continue to increase
okay, but why is it? Isn't there a law that they need to be paid?
Well, government always exempts itself.
Of course.
That's-
Is that at your discretion, though, to pay them minimum wage?
Yeah.
If they, okay,
Yeah.
so you could
Yeah,
pay them
minimum wage
minimum
went
wage.
from $7.25, increased rather aggressively in New York State over the last few years.
As it should.
So we have increased the pay from where it was, and we'll increase it further in the future.
Okay. So, yes, I guess I just keep asking the same question. Why is it not minimum wage now for everyone? Starting.
Well, like I said, we've continued to raise it, and we'll continue to raise it in the future, but and we have a pay scale that we put together each year.
Do you think you should change the pay scale maybe?
Well, we do each year.
Right,
We'll
but-
continue to do so. So they get a raise each year that they're at the pool or camp counselors. So each year they do get a raise, plus we have taken steps to provide raises on top of that automatic raise that they receive each year.
And they don't get paid if it rains. If they're not there. They lose out.
Okay, and what is, how does the time and a half work? Because I know a lot of these guards are working maybe beyond the 40-hour work week. Do they get paid time and a half based on?
I don't know if we've had any at this point.
I do. Every week I do. I go over 40 every week. I don't get time and a half.
Our overtime pay is less than what we actually make. Like I make $10.95 and my overtime is $10.50. So I make less doing overtime than I do in an actual hour.
How does that work?
I don't know.
Is this the wrong forum for this? I'm not running for office or anything. Maybe I should. So, back to the question. How do we, does everyone agree who's here? I'm talking about.
Yeah. They're saving lives. They have certifications that they have to.
Did everyone know?
I think you're done once, right?
That's right, I brought it up last year.
Right.
Articulate the point that you definitely disagree with my opinion on that.
Well, I think
I had a discussion last year.
I think you're-
They made it very clear that they were very happy with the pay scale, the wages.
Well, like I said, we continue to raise it.
I'm just saying that was the statement.
Yeah, we continue.
You defended it very well last year.
Okay, so in other words, what do we have to do to make that change? Union.
All right, ma'am, every year we look at the pay scale and look at it again.
Right, but what can we do to expedite that, to make it be something that is open for discussion? Or, I mean, aside from the 10.
Well, we always assess at the end of each year, we always assess the revenues and expenses, obviously, and look at the pay, not only for the lifeguards, but camp counselors. I mean, we hire many people in the summertime.
Yeah.
And, make decisions based on that. You know, we try to keep the membership reasonable. You know, the kiddie pool liner that was mentioned earlier, just for a kiddie pool liner was 45 grand. So we you know, so it can be costly.
So I guess we're just, at a standstill when it comes to that, because I think any kid that...
Well, no, we're not at a standstill because, like I said, it
Well,
continues
yeah.
to increase it each year. I mean,
Okay.
25 cents a year isn't a raise.
But thank you, thank you.
You're welcome, but I'm not done.
Your 5 minutes are up.
Okay, I just want to add one more thing. As far as the kids making, they make $17 for that 1/2 hour that they're working.
Yep.
But they're making how many dollars an hour that they're working, taking care of all those kids versus working for one kid?
Well, the individual lesson, yeah, they do make the equivalent of $34 an hour for the individual lesson.
$34 an hour?
Well, it's 17 for a half-hour lesson.
Oh, okay, so they'll be doing
So the
hour
equivalent
lessons?
of $34 an hour for the individual lessons.
Okay.
But that, and that's a lot of work. I mean, that's a one-on-one lesson,
Yeah.
and that's we understand.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, the other. Yeah. The golf course we purchased.
Name is Charles Prudhomme. I'm 27 Stony Creek Drive, Clifton Park.
Hello, Charles.
I got a question. You had 3 pools. You had
Yeah.
3 managers at each pool. Do you have an overseer, somebody over the 3 pools? I'm big in management all my life. So I'm just wondering, do you have somebody that's over all these pools?
Yes.
Who?
Matt Andrus is the person that has been managing the pool.
And what's his job? I mean, other than that, does he have another job?
Yeah, he has other responsibilities.
Does he work for the town or something? Department of Public Works or something?
No, he works, he oversees our IT, social media, that kind of thing.
He should be around to see what the hell's going on at these pools. At least once or twice a year. I mean, I didn't even know. It just sounded like you have a manager here, a manager there, a manager here. You have nobody overseeing. How about you, councilman? Are one of you in charge of the pools? Like one of you is over the Department of Public Works? No, nobody? Just a guy at the Department of Public Works, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
You are?
I am one of the
Okay.
liaisons.
And like grounds and recreation and
For the
stuff?
pools, for the Parks Department. I'm one of the
Okay.
liaisons.
How about anything, any other departments? Parks and,
There are 2 co-liaisons for Parks and Recreation, myself and Mrs. Standard.
yeah. Because usually, like, I was in the fire department for 11 years, and I know each commissioner had certain responsibilities over certain things to keep an eye on it, He's responsible for all of his. Every last one he is. Anything you do wrong, it's his fault. That's how, you know that, right?
Yep.
Are you a lawyer, by the way?
Nope.
No, I didn't think you were. You're a lawyer. I said, because I thought we talked one time and you said you weren't a lawyer.
Well, you're right. You have to remember.
But really, it's like management. You got to have organization and management. You got to have somebody over everybody. Because it looks like somebody was out of place there. This one guy that's over everything. This looks like his fault. He doesn't know what. He's the one responsible for the IDs not getting there. He's the one responsible for the chlorine not getting there. That's his fault. As long as they report it, that's okay. They report it to him, and then he should get up and do something. I don't care if he's IT. What the hell's he doing in IT? Taking care of a pool. They're lucky they know 1 and 0. Really.
Only I was a lawyer. Yes, Sally.
In all of the reports that I've seen in the papers and so on, it was
was stated several times that the town was not aware that there were private lessons being given. I have been in this town for over 40 years. All of my sons were lifeguards, and all of them taught private lessons. And that has been going on for 40 years. I don't know why the board or anybody else in the town who was supposed to know about it didn't know about it. But that's been going on all those years. So you can't say nobody knew about it.
There's been official.
Well, I don't know that it was going on all those years. I know
I'm just telling you, shame on you.
You
need shame on you.
And shame on you if you don't know what's going on in the pool.
All right, well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And again, we...
My name is Natalie Commandon. And I am
Give me your name again, honey.
Natalie Commandon.
What's your last name?
Plumondon. Plamondon. And I am 8 years old. And I live 9 Trevor Court. I want to say that I think Country Knolls is the best pool of all because the lifeguards are awesome and Brian is what makes the pool run so well. And I cried when I found out he left. These lifeguards are worth more than minimum wage because they saved someone's life. I'm so happy that Brian's coming back to run the pool, but I've missed having my private swim lessons this summer.
Well done. Well done, Natalie. Okay, well, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we're going to continue to move forward. By Ms. Swallow, second by Ms.